Hello, my name is Justin, and today I want to talk about School Spirits, Season 3, Episode 6. This one is called Children of the Scorned. And I'm gonna try my best. Okay. So I know in my last one I said I'm gonna try to do it in plot points so it's not taking up as much time. And then it was literally the same amount of time as like the episode. So that's my bad. I don't know. Okay, so this one starts with Xavier telling Kyle that he is body snatched. And Maddie's dad is like, how is this possible? And it's like, okay, I thought he knew about Maddie. Like, what did he think happened to her? Did Xander. Also, I'm sorry about messing up Xavier and Xander. Okay, so did Xavier not tell Maddie's dad about what happened to Maddie? I feel like that would have came up the multiple times he's came to see him, but Xavier is promising Kyle that he's going to ask the body snatcher how he did this, and it's like, sure, okay, because like I'm not the only one. I mean, even in the show, the characters are like, you're gonna ask a fucking body snatcher to tell you what exactly? Maddie's dad thinks that the nurse in the basement will know what to do probably. And Maddie is chugging coffee, like chugging, like on her 6-1 type of chugging coffee. Um, and I am, I wonder if these showrunners ever drink coffee because somehow um, Maddie thinks if she drinks enough coffee, it won't let her think about the school being shut down. And it's like, it's coffee. It's not like alcohol. I don't know. I mean, I've never drank 6 cups of coffee, so maybe it does do something. Xavier tells Maddie that they gotta track down Kyle's body snatcher. And I'm wondering, okay, so we know that your spirit pretty much has to be broken for someone to possess you, correct? Um, I don't know. I mean, okay, so I guess in some ways I can see that Kyle's spirit was broken. I mean, he thought he was dead. I mean, what is dead? But the nurse, the ghost nurse, said that Van Height went through her door to get to Kyle. So she also thinks that he's a devil, like a evil spirit. So I'm like, okay, so I'm thinking that Van Height, like the demon Van Height, is not like the actual person. I think the actual person has been possessed by this demon who is now possessing Kyle's body. Just because, I don't know, I guess it doesn't really make sense to me, the whole um, church thing. I don't really understand how he got out and the pastor didn't. And I don't know. I'm also just wondering how he possessed Kyle by going into his scar. But we then go to school with Maddie Xavier, and they meet up with Nicole and Claire, who's been researching. They find out that what they know about Van Height is like not really on public information, and sounds about right with the way the world is now. Then Livia comes up to Nicole and gives Nicole Simon's tablet. So Olivia's like, I don't know, you should probably tell Simon to put a password on this. And more so Simon than Lottie from Yellow Jackets. But this is 2 shows on Paramount. And it's probably happened in other shows. Probably fucking Pretty Little Liars. I wouldn't be surprised. But why aren't these characters having passwords on their phones? I understand that it would cause inconvenience, but it's almost like unrealistic that none of them have passwords. And I know this isn't a phone, but like Simon, out of all people, out of everyone in that group, would have a passcode. So that's doesn't really make sense to me, but it's convenient for story wise. So we later find out that Livia has the picture of Janet and Maddie's body when she stole that car at the end of season 1. We then go to the greenhouse with Maddie and the ghost. Simon tells Maddie about the vision, and Rhonda is like terrified that they're going to end up where Van Height is, or even just in their own scars if the building is destroyed because of what they heard from Maddie the last episode. So Maddie tells all of them about Kyle, and how Kyle's body is a town council. So she wants to talk to him to make sure that the school doesn't get shut down. Quinn, like I said earlier, is like, you're gonna reason with a body snatcher? And like, Charlie is worried he could be a psychopath. And Maddie's like, you know what? I actually think that the time in the church is messing with Simon. So I might be an unpopular opinion, but I like, yes, Maddie's going through a lot, but her trying to control Simon is crazy because like she knows that like he's not gonna do that. You really think he's gonna sit around? No, he's gonna figure it out. He was trying to get you out of the spiritual world. So you think he's just gonna sit around and not do anything for himself? No. I know that she wants to do it for him because of how many times he has saved her, but it's like, if he has a plan, then like let him do it. Like, it's almost damaging him more by just sitting in the paranormal world. You know what I mean? Martin shows everyone the ring and says Simon needs to go down there as he feels the man with white eyes uh, only wants to connect with him. And Maddie's like I said, no, like he needs to rest. So, I mean, I get what she's saying, but whatever. So Maddie is worried about her dreams, but she swears that she's going to figure everything out. And I think, I don't know if I have it in here, but I think Wally was like, no one expects that from you, and you shouldn't expect that from you. And I think that is something that she needed to be told because she is like gonna lose her shit, especially with all that coffee. So we go to the library with Rhonda, Charlie, Yuri, and Quinn, who talks about how nice Quinn is talking about how nice Kyle is, as the others worry about being stuck there for eternity. Martin comes in and tells them that, you know, they become much more than they'd ever thought they'd be in a matter of months. So what is stopping them from being able to get their doors? Martin doesn't think he'll get his door though because of his little stunt these past couple seasons. And so it really invigorates Charlie, and he's like, all right, well, I'm gonna go figure out how much time we have left then. And Rhonda, Martin, and Simon go down to the Scar because Quinn is like, I probably think it's best for me to sit here. I mean, I just whacked Simon over the head with a board yesterday, so I'm gonna stay here. So before we get to the ghosts going down to the hellhole, Charlie goes to the library to look through files to see if there's any timeline to figure out when the school will shut down. And as this is happening, I really liked this. So there's like this really pretty girly pop at the office desk, and there's like 4 high schoolers like ogling at her. But because they don't see the ghost, they're actually like ogling at Charlie and Yuri, who eventually like make out after having an argument. So like I was saying in the last one, they're all told to stay away from the water, and Rhonda crouches by it for a second time. What the fuck? What the fuck? Okay, so she crouches by it, and of course, as Simon starts to hum and finish from, I don't know, a song he found on the ground, Rhonda is pulled into the water, and with Martin by default because he was trying to save her, and they are, what's the word? They are pushed out, I guess, into the library. So the man with white eyes comes out, and Simon tells him he'd like to talk. He's much more peaceful this time because he knows that really, like, this man is the only way out. You know what I mean? And the guy grabs a piece of glass, and we're thinking that he's going to stab Simon or something, but he actually stabs his own hand and he bleeds. So this is so scary. Imagine being in Simon's situation, but for over 100 years. Over 100 years. Oh, God. Okay. So in the library, Rhonda talks about how emotionally heavy being in that scar is, and Martin questions why they were dumped out into the library. And Wally comes in and is like, where's Simon? And they're like, he's in the hellhole. I'm sorry. And Wally's like, all right, so give me the watch. And again, it's just like the third time this season, third or fourth time, the watch is not available, so they have to go the long way. So they're gonna go through Wally's scar. Wally and Martin are gonna go through Wally's scar to get to Martin's scar to go down to the hellhole to save Simon. Okay. Maddie and Xavier go to a town hall meeting. They find out that it's being talked about moving up the closure of the school. The principal is there trying to defend it, and Jennifer Tilly once again drags him, saying he does not know what is under that school. So I am saying that Jennifer Tilly clearly is not a good character, and I think she knows a lot more about ghosts and about the scars. I don't really know what her and the guy possessing Kyle's body, I don't know what their plan is, but Jennifer Tilly knows more. I think she's also a demon. So the board says it would take a lot of resources to move all these kids to a different school and for different bus routes and shit like that. And Miss Jennifer Tilly is like, I know someone on board who would be very happy to help. This is when Kyle, who goes by Casey, walks in. Everyone loves him. And after the town hall meeting thing is coming to a close, he ends up talking to Maddie and Kyle, or Xavier. And I noticed, and I'm pretty sure it was a hint to everyone, that Casey talks in a way that people don't really talk now. I wouldn't really call it old English because it's not very old. I mean, it's 1912, so older English. He uses words that people don't really use anymore or that often. And Maddie and Xavier are like, please don't shut down the school. And we want to make our case. And he's like, okay, well, here's my card. You can contact my associate. And Maddie's like, no, I want to talk now. And so Casey, oh my God, I knew who was in his body when he stopped. He had like this scary ass look on his face. He looked pissed, but he turns around with a smile. And I'm like, all right, you're fucking crazy. And he says that he can meet them at the high school tonight after he's off work to check out the school. So that is that. And we go back to Simon, who tells White Eyes he wants answers. So he showed him the vision of, White Eyes showed Simon the vision of him locking Van Height in a room and walking downstairs. So that was who was locked in a room. And Van Height was like going off about his fucking ring. Jesus Christ. So he locked him in a room. The pastor goes downstairs to check on the kids, and the building floods. Wally and Martin pulls Simon away, but Simon fights them off and grabs White Eye's face because he wants to continue the vision. We learn the old man was the pastor, and sorry, this is my fault for not going in like plotline order like I literally just did the last one. So, okay, I'll get back to that. So Maddie's dad and Kyle talk to the nurse and ask if anyone left the day Kyle arrived. She tells them someone went into her scar. She often wondered who did, but either way, she knew someone went into it, and now Kyle is stuck here because of her. She tells them there are other ways to get into other people's rooms, and then we cut back to the boiler room with Maddie, Xavier, and all the ghosts. So Simon is there too. Oh, that's right. My bad. Because after the whole finding out that the pastor is the pastor, Simon passes out. So Simon tells them that White Eyes is not Van Height. And immediately I'm like, okay, so Casey is. And I was right. I'll get to that later. But White Eyes is alive. He got trapped, and if they can figure out how he got trapped, then they can also most likely use that to lift the veil to get Simon out of there. And Maddie tells Simon about Kyle. Maddie tells them that they can use Kyle's, who's ever is in Kyle's body, to get him to stop the shutdown. But Kyle never shows, so Maddie uses his card to find his address. And her and Xavier are gonna go to his house, like actual dumb people. Wally stops her because obviously, and she's like, no, this is like the only way. And Simon says, no, it's not. Maddie, meet me by Martin's door, okay? We need to talk. So Maddie and Simon are kind of arguing. They don't want the other to do what they want, like like the plan they have, which doesn't really make sense because, like I said, I'm pretty sure Simon doing anything but sitting there will help. I know, like, Maddie just cares about him and wants him to be okay and doesn't want anything bad to happen to him. But my God, like, can we just let the other do what they gotta do? I know that they care, and and they even say that. They're like, you know, they just care about each other. They don't want each other to get hurt. They wish they could be there with them, but that's not the case. Okay, so we need to figure it out so we can get Simon out of here. And okay, like, I know I'm like going on this whole rant. I get it. Maddie wants to use Casey to stop the school from being shut down so they can have more time to figure out Simon's thing. But the clock is ticking, babe. Either way, you're a high schooler. You're gonna tell them to not shut down the building. It's gonna happen. I don't actually think it's gonna happen, but I mean, okay. So they both realize they are gonna do what they want anyway. They're just, like I said, scared for each other. But after they kind of have like this cute little chit chat. Oh wait, I think there was like a callback to season 1. If I remember correctly, Simon tells Maddie, who's a ghost at the time, that they will look back at this and laugh, and Maddie says the same thing to Simon, which is like, I love that in shows. And she gives him her permission. We then meet up with Maddie and Xavier, who are outside about to go to Casey's, Kyle's, whoever. They're gonna go to his place. And my favorite character, Claire and Nicole, meet up because Xavier called them for backup. And Maddie is like, no, like, it just needs to be us. And of course, Claire and Nicole follow. So the other ghosts are going with Simon to learn more about White Eyes. Maddie and Xavier are scared because they should be. And Simon wants to know what White Eyes is trying to tell him. Martin realizes that the drawings on the wall are White Eye's story. It's who he is. Oh my God. And then we cut back to Casey. Sorry. So Casey, Kyle allows Maddie and Xavier into his house. Xavier notices all the old stuff. Like, all the shit is old. And Casey's like, I just like antique things. And I'm like, sure you do. Van Height. Xavier also notices Casey's cabinet of guns. Not good. Casey makes them tea and insists that they have some. Claire and Nicole arrive at Casey's house, and they're kind of just like hanging out, just waiting for any call at any moment. Jennifer Tilly also arrives to pick up the donation. So it is happening, like I said. Maddie could try, but I think she's way over her head. And then Livia's talking about the fucking picture she has of Maddie. Livia, get the fuck out of here. So plays a recorder. Oh. Casey starts to play music, which isn't really important. And he wants to know why Maddie and Xavier are really there. He's like, I know you guys don't really care about a school that you guys are going to leave in a few months anyways. And he's like, oh, I know. You guys just want like a donation to a club, right? And Maddie says, no, we want info. And Xavier's like, with who you really are. And Maddie wants, she's like kind of, what's the word? She's like taking a slower approach than Xavier is, which makes sense because like Xavier, I mean, he's looking at his friend's body who he knows like his friend is like a ghost trapped in a hospital. So I get it. But Maddie's like, what do you know about Ghost? That's all we want to know. We don't really care what you've done. And he's like, what I've done? And then he pretty much tells them to leave before Maddie sees the gold ruby ring. Oh my God. So, like I was saying earlier, this guy is Van Height. I want to beat his ass. All right. So, Maddie says that she likes his ring. And he's like, it's been in the family for a very long time. And Maddie and Xavier are like, since 1912. And he's like, I want to know. I wasn't there. And Maddie says something like, it's so smart how it came out. I can't describe it, but Maddie pretty much just is like, confronts him and calls him Mr. Van Height. And he gives in. And he's like, it's been a long time since someone's called me that. Maddie says that they won't tell. And Casey like almost laughs. And this part grossed me out, especially with everything going on in the world. Really pissed me off because I know that like there are rich people that think this way right now. He says, once you're around long enough, nothing matters and you can outlive any consequence. I'm gonna beat his ass. Eat the fucking rich. So Jennifer Tilly rings the bell at Casey's, and Casey goes to answer the door. But after a few minutes, Maddie and Xavier realize that they don't hear shit. And so they get up, and Maddie notices the open door and sees that Casey is booking for it. So Xavier is like, oh shit. He notices the gun cabinet open. And so Kyle has a gun, and Maddie's chasing after his ass. So Kyle is chasing after Maddie, who's chasing after Casey with a gun. And Claire and Nicole see them and follow. And they all run into a corn maze. Okay? So we then get back with Simon. Simon is like holding White Eyes' face because he's in another vision. And Martin realizes Simon was right about the pastor. That he... Okay, so I'm a little muddled on this as well because it's like, so the pastor is stuck in the scar and he would like hang out with the kids. Like, I'm wondering like if he got out and then like he would go back to visit the kids and then Van Height trapped him in there. That's just what makes sense to me because it doesn't really make sense to me that he's been alive ever since the kids died. I think that they both eventually got out there because we also learned that there was a thunderstorm which allowed Van Height to get out. So you're gonna tell me that this guy has been not Van Height, but the pastor has been alive in the scar ever since? Or like, what's going on there? Like, did he get out and would come back and visit the kids? Because he's still alive. Like, I'm just a little confused on that. So I'm also a little confused because Martin sees his friend, the one he was talking about earlier this season that died from a lightning strike. How is he in the church? What? So this is what I'm a little confused about. Like I just said. So the pastor got stuck after the church was flooded. And he's been there ever since. But Van Height would like come around and like scare them. I don't know. And then that's like what the show's trying to tell me. But I it doesn't really make sense to me. Oh my god. Unless okay, wait. Okay, I'm like thinking, what if they all died in that church? Well, besides the pastor. And a demon actually possessed Van Height. So Van Height himself was an evil man, but since that church thing, he was possessed by a demon and has been the demon lived in his body ever since, was in the hospital, then possessed Casey's body in the future. So White Eyes, they find out that White Eyes couldn't remember who he was. His own grief is what made him stuck there. And Simon tells him he remembers him. He remembers the children. He knows who he is. And so White Eyes is like screaming, and the building floods again, forcing Simon into the water, and then like forcing him down the church into the water with hands. And then, okay, so Ralph is like, Martin's like friend is like stopping the other ghost from going to save Simon right away. And then like as he's like going down the water, he steps aside and they all run after him. But they all end up getting sucked into the water, but they end up in the library without Simon. So where the fuck is Simon? I'm like wondering like, oh, like maybe that was all. Maybe that was the veil. Maybe this next episode, episode 7, Simon will just full on be alive. Maybe he's back. That's wishful thinking. But you know, maybe because it is confusing because, you know, Martin even said a couple episodes ago, or this one, where he was like, I don't understand why it keeps bringing us to the library when I went in there and it brought me onto a street. And where the fuck is Simon, you know? So, okay. Okay, we have to get serious, okay? Maddie goes into a vision. She's running down the corn maze. She's running in the corn maze. And she ends up in the boiler room, where she sees Van Height himself, who calls her a lucky lady, then shoots himself in the ankle and goes out his door. So Van Height gets a fucking door? I'm not a big Martin fan, but that seems a little unfair. So we cut back to the real world when Xavier and Claire and Nicole find Maddie. She is on the ground, and she is holding Casey's body because he is dead. Jesus Christ. I feel like this is like what they wanted to do for Maddie. Because do you remember when Janet, like, I like thought that she was gonna like burn in that house and like leave Maddie at the school. This is crazy. I feel horrible for Kyle. Don't even know the guy. Thought he was gonna possess Xavier at the start of the season. But now, like, he had a chance. Someone stole his body. He stole his life and then died in a corn maze, leaving Kyle in the hospital. What the fuck? Oh my god. So Maddie's guilty. She's probably gonna go to jail for killing, like, a town hall person. God. Oh my god. Oh my god. This show is so good. Um, I'm sorry for being everywhere. Um, I hope you enjoyed this chaotic recap of School Spirits. I'm really looking forward to episode 7. Um, and then the final, which is so crazy. There's only 2 more episodes. I feel like we need a lot more information. We need a lot more information. What's going on? Okay, bye.